Dearly redheaded, we are choosing consciousness today to get through this thing called grief. Interesting word, grief. It means love, which makes for a mighty good joke, but I'm here to tell you, there's nothing else. Just joy. And if the big picture tends to bring you down, go crazy once your life goes. Woo!
Good morning. It's your natural born redhead. I'm here this morning with Tom Bucsku. I met him over the internet probably 2 years ago. Tom, you were doing some KunTalini workshops, and I had a KunTalini awakening and was curious to explore it, but like I shared with you when we spoke, I decided not to do more KunTalini work after having an awakening because it was quite rigorous to my system. So then I didn't interact with you until I found you to talk about what you're doing now, which I'm going to let you talk about.
Well, good morning. And yeah, I think that's about right. Probably 2 years ago. I remember you connecting around the KunTalini, and I'm still doing those events. And I totally understood the hesitation to want to raise that energy even more when you had a spontaneous awakening. That can be pretty challenging for people who aren't prepared for it. Whereas I actively sought to raise that energy, raise my consciousness. So it's a little different experience from what we had.
Yes, and probably something maybe not now that we can talk about another time. I'm very curious as to what you're up to now with the men's group.
Yeah, so what I'm doing now is I'm actually focusing on men who have been through divorce and are looking to get back out into the dating world. And that's what I like to call kind of the surface level motivation. Having been through that process myself and worked with hundreds of men that have been through the challenge of separating, however consciously they can, and then recovering from that, both personally, financially, and so on, and then finally getting to a place where they feel like they're ready to put themselves out there again.
I think that's incredible. So you want to speak to how folks can find the group, and then we can talk a little bit more about your background and then kind of flip-flop between how you're able to help these men.
Sure. The easiest way to find the group is on Facebook. It's called Dating After Divorce, Support for Men, or Men Supporting Men is the kind of tagline, because I wanted to create a safe space where men can support each other, because I think that's really important. Men just don't have that anymore. They don't have a safe space generally where they can come to and just really let their hair down, be themselves, vent, challenge one another, ask questions, and it's really, the idea is creating a brotherhood like we used to have. I mean, when we were hunter-gatherers, men would go out on a hunt, and that was their brotherhood. And even after that, pre-industrial civilization, men worked with their fathers and their uncles in shops and, as an apprentice and so on. And so men always had men supporting them. Boys had men teaching them how to be men. And that all changed post-World War II when boys stayed home with their moms and dads went off to the factory or the office. So, we have a couple of generations of men that have been raised by women, and they did the best they could, but nobody can teach a man how to be a man except another man. And so I purposely have created a place where men can come together and give each other some examples of what healthy masculinity looks like, which ultimately it leads back to what we need to give the women in our lives, whether we're just going out there on a first date or we're deep in a relationship. It's bringing that healthy masculinity and modeling what that looks like. And for most of us, we don't have a place. I mean, you may have some men's groups in, a church or other organization, but those really are few and far between. So we've created a virtual space for that.
And do over and above joining the group, are there virtual meetings where you come together?
Yes, and that's one of the things that I'm actually just putting together right now, where we're going to be meeting weekly via Zoom, so we can bring dating challenges and questions and successes and tips and ask questions and support one another as well.
What you may or may not know, I've told you a little bit about myself, a natural born redhead. One of the reasons I'm doing this podcast is the calling that came out of the awakening to spare grief, incite joy, and harmonize the energies between men and women. Animus is one of my favorite ways to look at it from the Carl Jungian perspective, if you're familiar. So I am very aligned with what you're trying to do, because I too I don't think women get any more attention, but I think attention on men is pivotal right now because of how dissociated we are from one another. Fair?
Absolutely. And I wouldn't say women get more attention. I think it's just socially more acceptable for women to seek support in our society. And so men are taught you've got to be strong, and boys don't cry, and you got to go it alone, be the lone wolf. And that's just not the case. That's not how we evolve, and that's not how we grow.
All right. You want to? I'd like to know personally more about you. I know the work you're doing. I can imagine what you've come through. You've already alluded to it, but were there childhood struggles that led to then marital struggles, or do you look at them independently? How would you describe your journey thus far?
Yeah, I don't think you can look at them independently, because they're all intertwined, and it's in some level it always comes back to our childhood experiences. For me, I was the youngest of four, and I was that little brother tagging along, kind of left behind. There was certainly love there. I never questioned my mother's love for me or my father's, but he was in that post-World War II generation where you just didn't show emotions and you didn't, express love like that. But they were divorced when I was 3, so I don't even have a memory of them being married. So again, I was raised by my mom. I have an older brother and 2 older sisters, and my brother was 6 years older, so he really wasn't involved very much in my life. So again, I was raised by essentially 3 women, and so I didn't have a real healthy role model of what it looked like to be a man. And then you add in some of the uncomfortable things that happened. Like I had a family member that abused me in the bedroom. And that, for me, I discovered years and years later, and I'm talking maybe 5 years ago, and I'm over 50 at this point. It was my core wound that caused these under the surface feelings of being unworthy and unlovable and not good enough, and I can't do anything right, and victim mentality and all the things. And of course, that showed up in every area of my life, though I would have told you I had put that behind me and it didn't affect everything, but it was affecting everything.
Did you, and I'm going to just, this is we talk a lot about dissociation from abuse on this podcast. So 5 years ago, you recognized it had happened, or you knew it had happened and dealt with it 5 years ago?
I knew it had happened. I clearly remembered it. I didn't disassociate the way I've heard you talk about in some other episodes. I was, fully aware of what happened, and but I had stuffed it down and said, I don't need to deal with it. It's not affecting me.
Got it.
But when I started to get into the emotional work, I realized that was there and began to fully face it and feel it, which is what allowed the healing to begin.
Right. All right. So what happened? I assume you had one marriage that I assume you're divorced. I think I know you are, but I want to make sure.
Yes, one marriage, one divorce.
Okay. And so you want to describe the marriage, and we're usually very respectful to the other parties, but can you offer as much as you can as far as what happened?
Oh, sure. And, I don't have anything negative to say about my ex. Through the divorce and everything, she's been wonderful. There's none of the stuff you hear about not letting me see the kids and, trying to squeeze every penny out of me. We've worked together through it all, even with all the pain that has been there on both sides. But what happened was I brought this victim mentality, this not good enough mentality into the relationship from the moment we started dating. She was beautiful, smart, professional, and all the things that a guy would want. And I thought I hit the jackpot, and I was like, oh my God, I don't deserve this. She is out of my league, quote unquote. And I really believe that. And so, because I hadn't been taught what a healthy man looks like, I reverted to being the nice guy and the people pleaser and, just anything you wanted. And I'll buy things that I can't afford, and I'll do things I know we shouldn't do. And it was not good from the beginning in that regard.
Got it. Keep going. So how long were you together? Do you have children? What woke you up as far as, was it your decision, her decision, whatever you're comfortable with?
Yeah, we dated for 2 years. We were engaged for 1. We got married. We waited a year before even talking about children because I wanted to just enjoy being married and being a couple, which we did. And then we had our first daughter, and that was really like, everything seemed great at that point for the first, say, 5 years. And then we had our second daughter, and then things change and it gets a little bit more complicated, and everybody's a little bit more tired, and nobody's getting the attention that they want, including the first child and the spouses. And things slowly began to get more distant, let's say. I was not a great husband. There was a million things that I would do differently if I were to do it again. And it was all driven by this need for validation that I just simply couldn't get from another person. And so ultimately, when I discovered what was happening through another men's group that I was a part of, and I started to uncover the truth of what had happened and how it was affecting me by really getting into my body, feeling all the emotions and the stuff that men aren't taught to do, I started to reveal more of that. And it got us to a place where we realized we weren't going to be compatible. We tried for a while, and I wasn't prepared to give up on it. Even when she said she was done, I took a good year of being separated before I even started with the divorce process. That took another year or two or whatever it was. So, it dragged out for a bit, but all through that, we still co-parented. We still worked together best we could. We, wanted to keep it a safe place for the kids. And we're still in that place. So there was a lot of hurt, a lot of anger. And, we both moved on from that in a fairly healthy way. And I still am working at showing up as a co-parent the best that I can, which some days isn't the best. And, it's a continuous and never-ending search for improvement. But
you seem to have, from what you said, it seems like you started to look at yourself when you were still within the marriage.
Oh, I was looking at myself from the time I was a teenager. I mean, I read Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, this summer between high school and college. And I actually took the Dale Carnegie course when I was a sophomore in college at the age of 19. And I paid for it myself because I had asked my father if he would cover that like he would cover tuition. And he said, no, because you'll get more out of it if you pay for it yourself. And he was absolutely right. But you can imagine, here I am, this 19-year-old kid in a room full of 40 and 50-year-old businessmen and women they're sharing stories of, work challenges and whatever. I'm talking about fraternity parties. And, but even then, I knew that I wanted to be better. At the time, it was like I was trying to fix myself, though. So I've done a million things. I've done Tony Robbins, and I've listened to, it was cassette tapes back then, and then it was DVDs or CDs, and I've been to dozens of programs. But a lot of it was driven by that fear of not being good enough and trying to fix who I was. And it wasn't until I discovered that there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not broken. And I can say this about anybody out there who's listening, that you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You just have forgotten who you really are. Yep. And what I learned is to come back to who I really am at a soul level. And that's taken me a half a century to get to that point.
I am very glad that you admitted it, because I can relate. The trip back to the soul is a trip. Just for my own curiosity, was Wayne Dyer in the mix?
He was, yeah. Yeah, and I'll tell you, a lot of it was, Wayne Dyer and Brian Tracy, and even before that, Zig Ziglar, and a lot of what they used to call motivational speakers, positive thinking and affirmations and all of that. And that's all great. And that's like stepping on the gas to accelerate your life. But what I didn't realize is I had another foot on the brake, which was the wounds and the traumas that I'd never dealt with. So I would have some success, whether it's in a relationship or on the job or in business, and then I would sabotage it somehow, or seemingly would come from outside, because of course I was the victim at that point. Nothing was ever really my fault. It was just, oh, look at me.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
I just wanted, and to be clear, I'm not knocking any of that. The work of, Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer, it's wonderful stuff. Just for me, there was a missing piece. And that's what I had to get to first. I get it.
And that's why I like doing this, because I learned so much. I'm in finance. I work with more men than women, and the male story is very, very just helpful. I don't know how else to say. You admitted you could have been a better husband. What did that mean?
In all the ways. I mean, really, what the details of different marriages might differ, but ultimately it comes down to presence, honoring your spouse, really being there with them, and especially as the man in the relationship, being able to hold space for a woman's emotions and the changes in that. I would take everything personally, and I've since begun to understand that women are allowed to have their emotions as men are, and that another person's feelings are not about me, even if they say it's about me. Like, they're just having their emotional experience, and I didn't take it that way. I took everything personally. I was showing up like a wounded little boy in the marriage, and it was like she had 3 kids instead of 2.
I was just going to ask you if she became mom.
Absolutely. I turned her into mom 100%. Even way back when we were dating, I can look back on things that I did.
Yeah, and that must have been interesting that you had daughters, because it kind of is reminiscent of having sisters. Yes, no?
Yeah, and you know what's funny? It's not funny, but it's interesting, is that even after doing all this work, I still will catch myself trying to seek the approval of the feminine from my daughters now, as opposed to my ex or a girlfriend or other one. Like we just, it was so ingrained in my generation growing up. Like I said, with our mothers and primarily female school teachers and in grade school, that we're conditioned. We need the approval. We need to be a good boy. Now I can't get that from my wife anymore. Well, my daughter's mad at me. What does that mean about me? Oh my God, I gotta buy her the present. I gotta get her the toy. I gotta take her to the place. And I catch myself a lot of times with that. And that's something I had to really become aware of.
Yeah, I had. I know you don't know a lot about my story, but I had 5 much older siblings, 3 much older brothers, and I don't want to get into a long story, but it wasn't a great experience. far from it. And it led me to marry somebody who made me mom, and took me over 20 years to get out of the looping that your brain does because it's so familiar. And now I have, ironically, 2 sons who I don't seek validation from, but inadvertently, because I sought so much through my family, my siblings, and through my ex-husband, they've been conditioned by those same individuals to treat me in such a way, my own opinion, that because I'm not looking for their approval, I think really, really affects them because they witnessed me with the others so often. Does that make sense?
Do you mean it affects them in a negative way?
Yeah, I don't think they, nor did the previous males in my life value what I wanted to do, accomplish. They made it, it was like they put cement in my shoes for what I wanted to do and accomplish. And now, doing some other creative projects, I think my sons are thrown by a loop, for a loop, as a result of, what I'm still trying to do after 56 years.
So they saw you seeking that approval elsewhere, and then they thought, well, why isn't she doing that with us? Is that what you mean?
I'm speculating. I'm spitballing with you. I'm trying to, I don't seek their validation, but at the same time, I do not want to hurt them. So that's almost like seeking their validation.
I can understand that. Yeah. Listen, as a parent, you're always walking that line between doing what you know is right and treating them with kid gloves.
Yeah, it's a interesting predicament. When formulating this group, and I know you've said you're just starting to do the virtual meetings, but can you give me an idea of the most popular topics to come up? Is it the mother thing? Is it other things that? I mean, what do you find in the group that comes up that really have men in a quandary?
Well, it depends on what level you're talking about. Again, the group that I'm referring to is, on the surface, it's about getting back into the dating world. And so the biggest challenge that the men that I work with, or let's call them 2 years post-divorce or plus. Okay.
Is that what is that what you require?
No, there's no requirement. I mean, I'll work with men who have never been married or men that are going through a divorce and are separated. I mean, I'll work with men who are still married on a coaching level to support them in that relationship so that they don't have to go through a divorce and start dating somebody else.
Okay.
But this particular group that I'm working with now, because I enjoy the topic of dating and relationships. I just love talking about it. I've got lots of experience of my own. I've helped lots of men who have been through their experiences. And so it's fun for me to support the men who are saying, like, there's no good women out there, or the apps are the worst, or I connect online and then we never get real dates. And so that's the conversation that gets started. But again, it's underneath all of that. Well, if you can develop that self-confidence, develop that healthy masculinity, you don't have to chase women. And that's what I teach is you attract, don't chase. But that's all about doing that deeper work of, coming back to who you truly are, to stop seeking that validation, stop people pleasing, and recognizing that the feminine wants to be led. And that's so hard for us to understand because as men, we have that masculine energy of wanting to lead, and we turn it around and we let the women lead. And that
never works.
I can't tell you how many women I've talked to are like, oh my God, I just want a man who will set the date and tell me where to go and what to wear. Like it still surprises me.
Well, maybe not to.
That might be a little bit of an extreme example, but you get the point.
Yes, I get the point, but I got to take issue, and I'm not disagreeing with you. When I woke up to this calling of harmonizing the energy between men and women, part of the person in the mix for me. We're at 25. So do a time check, Tom. Do you have 5 more minutes?
Yeah.
All right. And this will be a good place to stop. But I'm very intuitive. I'm claircognizant. I've got some of those female energy characteristics that I think you're probably well aware of, that either ingratiates ourselves to men or helps in the women are crazy arena. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, both things are true.
Right. Well, come on. I don't know about it. I try not to say men are angry, women are crazy. I try to say women are very intuitive, and it can often be misconstrued. So take it for what it's worth. And now I forgot my friggin' point. Do either of you remember what I was going to say? That's
okay, because I just want to interject that men are actually equally intuitive. We've just turned it off.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad you said that, which is why. And I think women are just as angry and men are just as crazy. It just depends on.
It's safer for men to show up in anger. And anger is the one emotion that's acceptable. Oh, he's a man. Yeah, he's being the fierce warrior. No, he's just being angry. And he's really angry because he hasn't felt the sadness that's underneath it. You know, so we get these labels and these approvals from society. But
yeah.
you were started to talk about energy and claircognizance and your intuition.
Yeah, and I remember. Holy shit! Didn't expect this, but I remember being guided to think, if I can support a man emotionally and support his heart, then he can make me feel safe.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the quintessential lead that. You know, when you say women want to be led, men do too, in the sense that they want to be able to be supported emotionally, and they want to feel their heart is safe, and then it translates to the woman's heart, physical and soul safety.
Yeah, I've heard it stated that, you know, men lead in the physical and women lead in the emotional, and so a woman can lead a man back to his heart.
Yeah, and I have known enough, for whatever reason. I'm sure the same is for you. You know, men tell me the hard stuff, and when you can listen to the hard stuff coming out of a man as a woman, it's a pretty intense experience, because it just makes you realize how much sadness there is. Are we at 30 minutes? We have a choice here, Tom. We can talk a few more minutes, but if it's going to influence you getting back later, I'd rather cut off now and have you come back at 8:30. So you tell me what works best.
No, we can go a few more minutes.
All right. So along those lines, and I want to bring this into where we go next. Talk to me about and you already alluded to it, but I'm going to say it again. You alluded that you're dealing with men at all different levels. What percentage of men, maybe that's an unfair question, but are going to the level you and I have put ourselves through, or you're holding the mirror and they're going into their childhood and they're delving into the role they played? Is that the lion's share of these men that find you because you're you and you're holding the mirror, or are you still finding like there's this more superficial element to it because it's just where we're at?
So that's a great question, because I think everybody has a need for some of this work, and that's why I've but people shy away from it. And the reason I created the dating after divorce program that I did is because, let's face it, every guy wants to get back out there and date. Now, they may be at the level of, yeah, I didn't do it right in my marriage, I want to do it right the next time. Or they may do it from an attitude of, F her, I'm going to find somebody 20 years younger and prettier and dirtier. And that's okay. That's totally okay. If you want to attract that woman, you still have to do the deeper work. And so I'll share what works for meeting women and creating a connection. And then men will sort of self-filter. Right? The ones who are intrigued by what I'm sharing on the deeper level will want more because they're hungry for it and they're ready for it. I am not interested in trying to take the average guy off the street who doesn't want to do the work and bang him over the head to say, hey, you got to look at your childhood stuff. That's why you're showing up the way people don't want to hear that.
Right.
So I share what's helpful for wherever people are.
Right.
And the ones that are, into it will be drawn to go deeper with me.
Yeah, so you just meet them where they're at. Do you?
Exactly.
Do you? I don't know. Educationally, are you a coach? Are you what?
Yeah, I'm
qualifications?
certified. I'm certified as a men's coach with Man on Fire, which is one of the brotherhoods that I was a part of. We did a super intense training on getting into all of these deeper things, and it includes somatic work, and I've added in the energy work that I've done. So, I've been certified by Man on Fire. I'm a certified KunTalini activation facilitator. I am been a Reiki master for 25 years. And so I bring in some of the stuff that has worked for me, which is that kind of woo-woo energy stuff that we talked about at the very beginning, combined with the somatic work, which is finding the emotions that are trapped in our body. And that's a whole other conversation you can have, along with all of the stuff of facing and feeling and getting through, not over, but getting through the stuff that has been holding you back.
Yeah, and we're going to get into the emotions trapped in the body in our next section. Out of curiosity, I recently learned about it. I've mentioned it a few times on the podcast from Theo Vaughn's podcast about the SLAA, Sex, Love, Addicts Anonymous. Have you heard about that?
No, I'm not familiar with that one.
Nor was I. And they described it. He was talking to another comedian, Louis C.K. I don't expect you to be familiar, but I never even asked you if you how you feel about me using foul language in comedy. You have any issue with that next time?
You be you, Joanne.
Okay. Hey, I should have started with that. I should have led with that. We'll have more fun in the next segment, but I'll just because we're about to part ways. And Tom will be back. I'm going to do the next podcast alone, and then Tom will be back for 2 more, just so the audience knows. But supposedly this group, I don't know if it caters to just men. I didn't really research it, but this is a place where men can go and get into their addictions, whether it be porn, masturbation. I mean, it was a pretty intense discussion that these two comedians had based on both struggling with issues where women were concerned. So I just wanted to put it on your radar.
Yeah, that's actually a great topic for us to lead off with the next time we chat in a little while.
Capsulize it for me so I can lead with it.
So ultimately, you're talking about the men who are using some form of connection with women, whether it's, love, romance, dating, sex, porn, as pain management to avoid feeling the things they don't want to feel.
Thank you for listening and supporting Natural Born Redhead. If you follow the bouncing balls, please like and subscribe. If you know someone interested in sparing others grief and inciting joy, message me on Facebook or reach out via my website, Natural Born Redhead. Jai Ma.